What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben. This is my 2016 Husqvarna 701. I picked this bike up about a year ago now. When I purchased it, it already had these Continental TKC80 tires on it. I have heard so many good things about these tires, a lot of it from people that I really trust, but I've got to say I am pretty disappointed with their performance. Not because they're not a great 50-50 tire, they are pretty decent on the road, honestly. For as good as they are on and off, they're pretty impressive in both categories. However, if you guys have seen any of my other videos, you know that I'm really more interested in pushing the bike off-road than I am on, and I'm just kind of willing to deal with maybe a little bit lackluster handling on the road if it means that I can really get some good traction and not have to turn back no matter what the trail looks like. And on this bike, as impressive as this thing is, I think you really need some extra traction with all of the torque and power that this thing has, especially being geared down a tooth in the front. This thing is insane. So today, what I'm gonna do is try to add a little bit of off-road traction and hopefully not screw up my on-road performance. And I guess what I mean by on-road performance is I hope I don't rip any lugs off when I'm practicing wheelies on this bike. So I'm going to be sticking on these Tusk D-Sport Adventure tires. These are an insanely aggressive dual sport tire. I ran these exact same tires on the Gen 3 KLR 650 for a long time. This bike I think is just a little bit too heavy, at least for the front. The rear always did incredibly well though, and as you can see, has a much more aggressive tread pattern than the TKC80. Also has a much wider spacing between each of the treads and is basically built to shed the mud. So I'm really excited to give these tires another try, especially on this bike. I think it's going to be an excellent combination, but of course I won't know that until I actually get on the bike and ride it. Now, if you guys want to pick a set of these up or any of the other tools that I'm going to be using during this video, I will have the full list of everything down in the description. If you use those links, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it's the only thing that allows me to actually make videos like this for you guys. So I definitely appreciate it when you take the time to click on one of those links before you buy any of your moto gear on Rocky Mountain. And I suppose I should also mention that technically I really should not have this bike on this stand, because with a full tank of gas and with all of the bags and stuff that I've got on here, we are over the 300-pound limit. So don't try this at home. Well, that was the hardest that I have ever had to work to either take a tire off or put a new one back on, and I literally just took a D-Sport off of the KLR rim like a month ago, not even.
Well, I was hoping the back would be a little bit easier than the front was, but that was not the case. It was almost just as tight. I think putting the new one on is going to be just as difficult. I really don't know what the deal is. I guess these are just more performance type rims, so they're a little bit larger diameter to help sort of seat that bead and keep it in place. I don't know. It's annoying. It's going to be time to replace that. See all sorts of daylight through this. That's no good.
I'm not sure what is going on here exactly. I believe this is the portion of the rim that gets welded together and then ground down, so I don't know if something just sort of broke loose there or what the deal is, but this is relatively sharp. Even the top side here kind of has the same thing going on. I don't know if it's just actually never been an issue for any of the tubes that are in here, but it sure doesn't make me feel very good. Couple things to note on my homemade tube saver here. There is a bit of a thick section where I ripped that old valve stem out. I'm gonna line that hole up with the valve stem hole in the rim, and then I end up with a little bit of extra slack over here. So I think what I'm gonna do is fold this up here opposite where that kind of thicker section is, and then I'm just gonna fold that over itself. And that way I'll have a little bit of extra rubber here to kind of throw off the weight. And to keep this all in place, I'm just gonna run a line of duct tape across all of it. How's that for DIY? You know what, I bet that thick strip in here and these super tall heads for the spoke ends in here are exactly why it's been so hard to get the tires spooned off and back on here. This valley here is supposed to give you a little bit of extra slack to kind of give you room around the rest of the tire where you're working. But if there's nowhere for the bead of the tire to go in, now especially with the extra lumps that I added in here, this is probably gonna be even worse. Well, I have no idea if this is going to help, but at this point I will try anything to make this go a little bit smoother. I'm a little bit nervous that with all that packed up in the valley of the rim, this is going to be the most difficult bead that I have ever tried to get over the lip of a rim, and I'm really hoping I don't wreck anything. Baja no pinch tool is looking better and better every minute. I'm really hoping I don't wreck anything.
dislocated my thumb. This is ridiculous.
All right, I'm getting really sick of this, and I can't imagine it's good for the tire to be stretched this long, so I'm just gonna see what I can do to get this in here. Oh, does that hurt? Might be moving. Of course I missed it. Got a little silly and jammed. The only thing that I could get in that crack in there, just on top of my rim protector here, and then once I hammered it underneath there, I was able to pry the whole rest of it over.
For reference, in the past, I've been able to get away with just 2 spoons. This one definitely seems like a 3-spoon job, though. Uh-oh, come on! Come on. Woo, same darn situation. There we are. Well, I can't say I enjoyed that, but the tire is on, and as long as it holds air, I guess I'll be happy. However, I would have to say, if you plan on doing this at home, maybe don't. Or get that Baja no pinch tool. I would hope that would make this easier, but I don't think there's any way around this being a pain in the butt. Alright, let's get these things balanced.
If you guys haven't used one of these balance stands before, they're really kind of neat. You've got this little bubble level on the bottom here and adjustable feet on all 4 corners. We've also got this little truing tool here that I can adjust to get right up close to the wheel. And then if we give that a spin, you can see if you've got any wild wanders in your rim. Now, if you do come across a section where the rim wanders really far one way or the other, essentially all you've got to do is stop it, locate which section is the problem section, and then tighten down whichever one of these spokes you need to pull the wheel in that direction. The ones that go to this side of the spool will pull the rim this way, and the ones that go to the other side will pull it the opposite way. But this really doesn't look too bad, so I'm gonna leave that as is, even though I've got my yellow dot, which should be, I think, the heaviest side, opposite all of the material that I've got right there. It seems like that is still heavier than that side. So that's a pretty easy fix. All I've got to do is wait for this to kind of come to a conclusion where it wants to sit, and then stick a weight right up at the top here. Bead's definitely kind of in a weird spot on that one. We'll have to double check to make sure that I don't have a tube pinched in there or anything. Oop, almost forgot to put that on. Put some air in this so that doesn't keep trying to disappear. Seek that bead. So it looks like the bead actually seated plenty easy there. I don't notice any sort of imperfections anywhere, but I think I'm still gonna pop the Schrader valve out of here quick just to let the tube sort of reseat itself in there if there's any pinch points. So if you guys missed it, on the inside here, I've got the little washer on the tube, then I've got one of the nuts, then the rim, little valve stem gasket, followed by the other nut to squish that in place, and finally the cap. Keep the air in, and the dirt and water out. Yikes. Good thing I've got a couple. don't know how well you can tell on camera, but apparently it's a good thing that I just pushed through it and got the tire mounted yesterday, because this thumb is not really usable today. So I'm gonna have a fun time trying to get these lined up and mounted up, but I'm gonna give it a go. I've got them both aired up to 28 PSI and I've got them both balanced. So let's get them on the bike and see how this thing looks. So on the back wheel, I still got to stick the sprocket and the other half of the cush drive on here. If you guys are unfamiliar, essentially these are what give you your driving force. They slide into these slots here in between it, these little rubber grommets. That basically just kind of makes the impact of taking off and the impact of slowing down and the tire sort of catching up with the drivetrain a little bit squishier. But man, I've got to say, I am not at all disappointed with the results. These look like they belong on this bike. This thing has always looked so aggressive and so mean to me. But those Continental TKC80s just always made the bike look, I don't know, docile or something. And I think a lot of people forget how much the look of a tire really affects the entire look of the bike. It's sort of like the type of shoes you show up with at a job. And those stock tires made this thing look like it was meant to be on the road 90% of the time. These tires make this thing look like the absolute weapon that it is, and it makes it look like it's gonna fit in a lot better on the channel. So I'll let my mangled claw heal up here a bit, and then we'll take this thing out and see how these tires do.